So I'm having lunch and somebody sees my shirt and they want to know if I'm into fish. We start talking about fish. They tell me about a shop that's about 20-30 miles from my house. Well, here I am, CK FishWorld. Man, I'm just such a nerd. Let's go check it out. You tell me what you think in the comments below. First thing you see when you walk in is a beautiful scaped tank full of reservoirs. First fish I ever owned, actually, as a fish keeper when I was around 6. Got a good selection of cichlids, which I enjoyed. It's hard to find around here. Nice OBs in here. You can see these OB dragon blood combinations. And there was one electric blue that kind of caught my eye, and I used to own one of these, really liked it. And he had some very good deals, as you can see, in tanks with quite a bit of selection. As you walk down the cichlid aisle, he had one aisle dedicated exclusively to cichlids. They would get progressively larger and, of course, a little bit more expensive. Certainly a lot of yellows and oranges and a lot of OBs. He had some show tanks that were just really stunning, full of plants and very healthy fish and very clean water. And I really like some of the use of plants in his tanks were very impressive. He even had some turtles. If you're into turtles, these guys are pretty cute. And if you like parrots, not really my thing, but these are some very, very pretty ones. Some macaras, some beautiful fish, along with some jewel cichlids. So they have some South Americans, as well as Malawi. Good selection of discus. You know, I wish I'd known about this store when I was actually keeping discus. Those lemon discus, some of those red, like snakeskin style. Got some melon. I mean, just some beautiful, beautiful selections. Very healthy looking. Water quality looked really good, which of course has to be pristine for discus. Of course, these are the larger varieties. As you start to get into larger discus, you get into much higher cost. Arowana mixed in with some angels. I found these fish really, really pretty, these flagtails. They can get pretty large, I think. These were over a foot long. Not sure if you can tell that from the video. Sort of fancy koi. He had them in smaller varieties too. The larger ones would get pretty expensive. Some small puffers, very cute. Someday I think I'll own one. I'm inspired by Murphy over at the co-op. Good selection of Oscars. Look at the red patterns on these. A couple albinos in there too. Blue rams, one of my favorite fish. Used to keep them with discus. Just an absolute beautiful color. Electric. Look at an electric blue. And he had some German rams as well, just your traditional German rams. Very nice selection of your bushy nose, your albino bushy nose plecos. One of my favorites. I like them because they don't get so huge. Some black belt silver dollars, very, very pretty. Geophagus. These are very pretty fish. I love the shape and the way they're constantly working the substrate. One of my favorite fish. He had a good selection of betta. So these betta sororities, I think they call them. Kind of the popular thing these days. And he had a lot of nano tanks. You know, a lot of your 5, 10 gallon, 2.5 gallon. Very beautifully scaped. Great selection of shrimp. You can see here, things just full of little red shrimp. More betta. Sorry about the glare on this one. Sometimes the light angles. The plants were extremely impressive. probably the best quality plants I've seen in a shop. They were all vibrant. They were in great shape. You know, not the kind of frayed, near-death type plants you see in a lot of the shops around town. These all looked healthy, great colors. I suspect he's probably dosing them CO2 to get this kind of healthy and just perfect plants. I mean, they're just absolutely beautiful. You can tell he's into plants. You can tell by the way he has some of the tanks set up in the shop. He actually is, so you can tell he knows about plants and must really, really like them. Look at the colors and varieties. You just don't see that in most shops. Usually you go in and they just have like half a dozen frayed and, swords brown, they're brown at the edges. He had one tank with a little quicksand, sort of a quicksand, hot lava kind of set up there with, looks like he's got some sand with a bubbler or something. It's kind of cute. Little floating moss ball. A nice selection of wood and rocks. Really anything you want to set up a tank, including a tank of all sizes. He had very large tanks, very small tanks, and a lot of supplies. Just about any kind of supply you could want, from sponge filters to canisters, hang-on backs. Very well stocked. He had a good selection of CK products as well, which I like to see, since I do use them. And a good selection of meds, again, can come in handy when you really need them. It's a good shop overall. I think that was worth the drive. That was definitely worth the drive. If you're down in this area, in Covina, check out CK FishWorld. Ask for Eddie. He got some great stuff in there. I'm gonna take what I bought home, I'm gonna get it acclimated, quarantine in the tanks. So you're probably wondering, what did I get? And or maybe you've already guessed what I got just by the comments I was making during the video. But of course, I had to do some temperature matching. And the fellow at the store said that shrimp don't normally carry disease, but I'm gonna put them in quarantine anyway. I picked up 3 of these bamboo shrimp, and I hope they do well in hard water. I'm going to put them in the sump and let them work on those matin sponges under there, which I'm sure have some goodies that they'll like. And I also picked up, as you probably guessed, that electric blue. For those of you who know my channel, you know I had an electric blue about a year ago, and he was beautiful. I grew him out from just a small fry. I picked him up for about $7 over at PetSmart. This one was a bit more expensive. I paid about $30 for this one. And as you can see, the dragon blood, who's also in quarantine, is giving him the usual greeting to a cichlid tank. So I really didn't want him to be stressed out during his first night here. So I went ahead and used one of those diffusers, those fluorescent light diffusers. You can buy them in any hardware store, and you can just cut them to fit any application. I used a suction cup to hold it in place, and I created a divider. And so now the dragon blood is not going to be able to mess with him. And so he's frustrated and pissed off at me now. But the electric blue can now catch his breath and get used to his new home. And it looks like he already took a couple shots on the side from the dragon blood. And it's just the way cichlids roll. Hopefully he'll calm down. And definitely made the dragon blood a little more feisty to have another fish in the tank. He was being very subdued and shy. And not anymore. So that's what I picked up. An electric blue and some of these little bamboo shrimp. And they can live in the sump underneath the 150. So if you're in Covina, check out CK FishWorld. I really liked walking through that store and seeing the selection. Really met and actually exceeded my expectations. And they passed the biggest test. They had Groot, and that's always a good sign. So, and as you can see here, I'm a happy camper. Thanks for tuning in, my friends.